Well, our story is the story of how Peter becomes Peter Pan. He's a young orphan boy, alone in the world in 1940s London, and one night he and his friends get whisked up into a pirate ship by evil pirates and taken to work for Blackbeard in Neverland, and thereby begins the adventure which eventually leads Peter to becoming Peter Pan. I guess the newest character of all is Blackbeard, who is mentioned in J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan a couple of times as the person who taught Hook everything he knew. And so Jason Fuchs, our writer, brought Blackbeard to life. The big twist on our Hook character is, of course, that in our story, Hook is not a captain at the beginning and he's a goodie. Casting the movie was a lot of fun, actually, and in order to get the movie green-lit, as we producers have to, we needed a star, and we were very lucky that Hugh Jackman had a window in his schedule and loved the idea of playing a big-assed villain. And the big search, of course, the crucial search was for Peter, and that took the longest time. We did a search across every English language speaking country in the world, saw thousands of boys, and Joe, I think individually, Joe Wright, the director, probably saw a couple of thousand auditions. And there was something about Levi Miller, who'd given his initial reading on camera in a little room in Brisbane in Australia, and there was something about this kid, the sparkle in his eye, and there's something about his sweetness and naivety and lovableness, and it felt like he could really give the character heart, and that's what the story really is about. It's about a boy searching for his mother, and he needed to make us cry, and we think that Levi's does that. Well, Rooney Mara is one of the best actors in the world, there's no doubt about it, and when she auditioned for Tiger Lily, she was hands down the best person we'd seen. Garrett Hedlund as Hook gives us a kind of heroic, incredible good looks, great physicality, great warmth and tenderness, and crucially on set he really looked after Levi. So, you know, it's a big responsibility having a 12-year-old make his first movie and be the lead, and we think Rooney, Garrett and Hugh all helped Levi realise his potential. Well, Joe and I are partners. This is the fourth film I've made with him, so I've seen him most days for the last 10 years, so somebody I really know and love and admire his vision. And the thing about Joe is that he always surprises me, and that always when he comes up with an idea which I think is too much, I know not to say that's too much, because he's going to be right. Time and time again, when he pushes the thing, gets a bit outlandish, that's when you get really good things coming out of his head. From a production point of view, the biggest challenges were the set pieces. The fight sequence at the end in the Crystal Kingdom was an enormous set piece, took about a month to film, and the sheer scale of Joe Wright's imagination and what he wanted was the real challenges. And you know, even though we had plenty of resources, you still have to bring the thing in on budget and on schedule, and that was a big challenge, which fortunately in this case we managed to do. I think the idea of a boy who never grows up, who lives in a world of his own creation, of his own fantasy, is something that everybody in the world can understand, and it's become a legend and a myth that's not just in our hearts in England but all over the world. And I think what we've done is giving it a fresh kind of punk rock spin, if you like, something that people haven't seen before, but still delivering the same good times, good-hearted message that Peter's original story does.
You talk about giving the film a rock dimension. That's nowhere more clear than when they're singing Nirvana in the film. Can you talk about, because that was quite an interesting choice, I think.
Yes, I think that's a choice that's going to divide people. Some people are going to like it, and some people aren't. It wasn't in the script. It's something that Joe devised in rehearsal with the actors. He was originally thinking of the pirates singing traditional pirate songs, but thought them too fey and too kind of light. So he thought, well, what would pirates be if pirates existed now? He said, well, they'd be punks, you know, it'd be grunge artists. So let's have them sing Nirvana. So we know it was a risk. Personally, I'm very proud of it, and I'm happy to think that it's going to polarize people. Why not?
Looking to the future, could we get more adventures with this cast, with this family in Neverland?
Certainly hope so.
Well, my character's called Growler, right? And we had to name our characters as well, and I'll tell us our relationship with Blackbeard. So my relationship with Blackbeard, I used to live in a cave. You know, I escaped my parents. I thought I might have killed them or something. I was a bit of a naughty pirate. So yeah, so I caught Blackbeard in my cave on his own, burying his gold. You know. So when we met each other, we had a mutual respect there. So I know where his gold is, and he keeps me alive. But he brings me on the ship to be one of his boys.
Of course, you've got a mutual respect with Blackbeard. What about your respect for Mr. Hugh Jackman? Obviously a legend. What was it like working with him?
Oh, it was awesome, you know. I'm a big fan of Hugh, and it was just awesome to work alongside him, you know. It's pretty cool.
And what can fans overall expect from the film?
I think everybody's going to be blown away. It's pretty magical. The kids are going to love it. My children are going to love it anyway. I seen it this morning, so yeah, it's going to be, I think they're all going to be pretty pleased with it.
Is there a particular sequence you think is going to blow people away the most?
The pirates. The pirates. Everybody's going to love the pirates.
Why do you think all these hundreds of years later, people are still so captivated by pirates and the pirate life?
Magical flying little Peter Pan, you know what I mean? We all live in that little dream when we were a kid, and I think we've also got a little bit of kid in us. You know, never grow up in my mind, that's what I say.
And obviously this is the story before the familiar Peter Pan adventure we all know. What do you think that adds to the experience?
Well, it just, it's the beginning. It takes the story, so it's all going to start again, you know. Yeah, it really explains it to the kids. It's great.
And in terms of Joe Wright, obviously a fantastic director, what was it like working with him on this one?
He's an awesome director. I love taking direction off Joe, you know. So it's another great director I've worked with, and can't wait to see him.
Of course, young Levi carrying the film on his very young shoulders. What do you make of him, his performance?
Everybody's going to fall in love with him. He's very well casted. You know, I fell in love with him. You know, we had a lot of fun. We had playing football on our breaks, and he's a great little actor. You know, and he's going to grow into something big. The next show I've got is Frankenstein. So I can't discuss the characters, but then I had Guardians of the Galaxy. I was the mean guard in that. I've got some future projects I can't really talk about, but it's all very exciting.
We loved your cameo in Guardians. Can you talk about beating up and then getting beaten up by Chris Pratt?
Yeah, it wasn't very nice, you know. It was the first time I listened to music, you know, and he come back and nicked his headphones back off me. It was a great little cameo, wasn't it? So, yeah, I can't wait for number 2.
And are we going to get revenge of the mean guard? Are you going to electrocute him in the seat?
Who knows? I'll be probably the last to find out.
A final question. Have you got a message to fans about this film and why they should be flying to cinemas to see it when they get the chance?
Yeah, it's another awesome Peter Pan, and come and get your popcorn and get your popcorn ready and your Coca-Cola because you're going to love it.
Are you a big Peter Pan fan?
I'm the biggest Peter Pan fan in the world. I have Peter Pan tattooed on my arm. I have Lost Boy tattooed on my arm. I love Peter Pan more than anything in the entire world.
Why is that? What's the magic of this character in this world?
Because he had it right. You know, he never wanted to grow up. That's the coolest thing in the world. He wanted to keep his innocence and just fight pirates and hang out with fairies. I mean, what's better than that?
Of course, Hugh Jackman is one of those pirates. Are you a fan of him as well?
Love Hugh Jackman. Who couldn't love Hugh Jackman? Apparently he's one of the nicest guys in the entire world as well.
When you're not watching pirates fight Peter Pan, what are you working on yourself at the moment?
So I'm doing lots of different things. Still doing this show, doing Jamie's Happy Hour, which is my YouTube, and just, you know, hanging out and just trying to be a presenter and being a host and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully we'll get there at some point.
For people who haven't enjoyed Jamie's Happy Hour, can you tell us a little bit about all of that?
So Jamie's Happy Hour is my YouTube channel. Check it out. It's where basically I do different pranks, different things, just basically make people happy. So go and watch it. It's hilarious. I pranked my mum, said that I got someone pregnant, which was hilarious. She didn't take it well. I love pranking people because it makes people laugh, it entertains others, and it doesn't hurt or harm anyone. It's always fun. I think fun humour is always the best kind of humour.
How fun is it being a part of a show like Made in Chelsea?
You know what? It's awesome. You get to hang out with your buddies all day. You get to go and do amazing things. I go to LA, which I did this summer, and you just get to have a cool time.
I think the constant debate about constructed reality is how much reality there is in there. Can you talk about the process of filming the show?
Yeah, well, our one is actually all real. You know, we have to get a location, so we turn up different places at certain times. But all the content, everything we say is actually real, which is probably slightly scary because why do we do the things we do? You know, but it is all real. You know, some things are kind of for your entertainment. So, you know, we put in sort of certain situations and things happen, but at the same time, everything you see is real.
Looking back over the past series, is there anything you regret, I guess, being captured by camera these days?
Kissing. Kissing on camera is the worst. I look horrendous when I kiss. So that's what I regret the most.
What do you think the future holds for the show?
What I don't know. I think for the show for Made in Chelsea, yeah, as long as people keep watching it, people get, then it's going to do good. It's about everyone at home watching. It's about the audience. If the audience still like it, then it continue for I don't know how long.
Why do you think out of all the reality shows, Made in Chelsea seems to be one that people are particularly fascinated by and keep wanting more and more of?
Because we're all friends since we're young. It's basically following a group of friends. I think it's very real. I don't know. We're just kind of chilled people. I don't know. I have no idea, but it's cool that everyone watches it.
Do you watch any of the other constructed reality shows?
I do. I do watch occasionally, but I'm more into sports and things like that, and movies and stuff. So I watch those kind of things a bit more.
In terms of presenting, what would be your dream job?
Jimmy Kimmel equivalent in the UK.
Do you think that's a reality? Is that something you're actively working towards?
100%. You gotta chase your dreams, right? So you gotta do it.
And do you think being a part of a show like MIC opens doors or closes those doors to you?
I think it's both. I think there are some people there's stigma towards reality, but there's also positive towards it. So but with every kind of situation you get put in, you have to take the positive and the minuses and just work with it and fight for what you want.
And before you leave us to enjoy this film, have you got a message to, I guess, particularly Made in Chelsea fans out there?
Go and watch this movie because it's going to be absolutely incredible. Neverland. It's going to be amazing. Go and watch it.
This is not the Peter Pan legend you've seen before. This is not a retelling. It's not a reimagining. This is an origin story. This is a movie that asks the question, who is Peter Pan? Why is he Peter Pan? How did he get to Neverland? Why do he and Hook hate each other so much? And all these are questions that I've sort of been obsessed with since a very young age. I love the original Barry book. I love a lot of the retellings. But I've always wondered about how it all began. And that was the motivation for the film, and that's the story that people are going to get to see if they come see Pan.
Of course, the villain of the piece is Blackbeard. Can you talk a little bit about your choice of that character and what Hugh brings to the role?
Well, honestly, Blackbeard for me was the only option as a villain, because I wanted to, in looking at how the story begins and where it all generates from, I wanted to understand how Hook became Hook. And there's one reference, page 53 of the original Barry book, where they write that Hook trained as a bosun under Blackbeard. And so I read that and I thought, oh, well, that's our bad guy. Hook trained under him. There's a relationship there. Blackbeard is a part of this world of Neverland and of the mythology. Let's include him. And so from there, it sort of went, okay, well, how do you find an actor who could fill such iconic shoes? And there aren't many actors more iconic and more capable of that than Hugh. And so we were very lucky. And Hugh also comes from a theatrical background. And Blackbeard, in our imagining of this world, was always a sort of theatrical, over-the-top, tyrannical ruler of Neverland. And so Hugh was, I can't imagine anyone but Hugh playing that role. I grew up with strong women, and my mom's a strong woman and a very proud feminist. And so for me, I enjoy writing strong female characters. I don't think we have enough of them in Hollywood movies. And particularly Tiger Lily, I felt like in every version of the story I'd ever seen or read, felt like a sort of secondary character who was motivated by the wants and needs and desires of male characters around her. And that rubbed me the wrong way, and I think it probably rubs a lot of people the same way. And I thought, what if we reconceived her as a strong, badass, sort of warrior princess who has a very clear objective, who's defending Neverland, who's protecting the fairy kingdom, and will do anything, make any sacrifice to accomplish her mission. And that was the motivation. And Rooney was such a special actress, and was a very, very fearsome Tiger Lily, as people who see the movie will get to find out. The movie is called Pan. And I always saw this film as a Peter Pan origin story where we're introduced to the characters around him, but don't fully get to see them become the people they're going to become. So Peter, without giving too much away, ends the film somewhat similar to the Peter Pan that we're introduced to in Barry's book, whereas Hook still has a long way to go. And that was by design. I wanted to really get a sense of what the origins of the Peter-Hook relationship were, and knowing how much they eventually hate one another, I thought, doesn't it stand to reason that maybe at the beginning they really liked and even loved one another? And so there are a lot of unanswered questions, but I think we leave it at a place where there are sort of tantalizing, exciting hints about what's to come.
What was it like working with Joe on this?
Joe is a mad genius. Joe is able to take a script like this to a very different level than I ever could have imagined. And he's also someone who's committed to doing things differently. He was committed to building the Neverwood. He built 4 blocks of this place. It's just extraordinary what he was able to create, and it really distinguishes it from a lot of other fairy tale sort of revisionist films. It feels like a real place, and that's a huge credit to Joe, and also to Aline, our production designer, Aline Bonetto. I have never had an experience in my life like walking into the Neverwood for the first time. We took over a studio called Cardington here in the UK, outside of London, and there are these massive air hangars where they used to build airships during the war. And we built the largest physical set in the history of the United Kingdom there, where you'd walk into the Neverwood on one end and you could get lost by the time you got to the native village on the other. That was a pretty special moment, and I think it'll be a while before anything tops that on a film set for me. It's a timeless story because I think it carries a very specific and a very different message for two sets of audiences. I think for kids, it's wish fulfillment, it's joy, it's the possibility of your dreams becoming real. It's the notion that anything you dream, anything you aspire to can become possible. I think for grown-ups, it's the notion of childlike wonder, that you got to keep the child inside you alive and feed that. And so I think whatever age you are, this movie and this story has something for you, and that's why it's lasted and sort of sustained itself as long as it has.
And are you working on anything else at the moment?
I am. I wrote a movie called Break My Heart 1,000 Times that Haley Steinfeld is going to star in. It's sort of a supernatural thriller. Scott Spear, who's directing a new movie called Midnight Sun with Bella Thorne, Patrick Schwarzenegger, he's going to shoot that as his follow-up film after that. And we're going to start shooting that next year up in Winnipeg, so I'm really excited about that.
Fans will be excited as well. Can you tell us any more, just what it's about?
Yeah, it's based on a great book by Daniel Waters of the same title, and it takes place in a world where some event has happened, we don't quite know what, but as a result, ghosts are now a part of our world. They're a part of everyday life, and it's a story of a girl who lost her father, sort of navigating this world and realizing that ghosts have a very specific warning for her, and she's got to figure it out in time for all of us.
I am very excited. You know, I haven't actually seen it yet. There have been a lot of screenings that have been about, but I haven't been in the country or I've been abroad. And it's just amazing to be able to get the chance to come and see it. So I'm having a good time here. Neverland looks amazing, you know. So we're all very pleased at the way this on its own has turned out. I can't wait to see what the movie looks like.
Can you tell us a little bit about your character and where he fits into things?
Okay. I play Bishop. He is the first mate of Blackbeard, who is the #1 bad guy in the movie. Blackbeard is the captain of the main ship. I am the captain, and I am Blackbeard's first mate, and the captain of the Ranger, which is a smaller ship, which goes out hunting for new boys to bring to Neverland, to mine for Pixum, which is almost like fairy dust, which keeps people young, and keeps Blackbeard young. So and it's running out in Neverland, so he needs more people to dig deeper to get more Pixum, because he wants to stay young. So that's basically what it's about, and I've had a great time playing it, so I can't wait to see what it looks like.
And obviously, Mr. Hugh Jackman is our terrifying Captain Blackbeard. Can you talk about working with him? Because you guys have a lot of funny scenes together, it's fair.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, you know, a lot of great scenes that we played together. It was really great fun. A lot of people, you know, liked the kind of relationship that we had on set, and hopefully that comes across on camera. Hugh Jackman is an amazing actor. He's someone who's supremely generous, and someone who is there not just to make his performance great, but he's there for the actors that he's working with. Always bringing gifts to set, always being positive. He's he's the first person there and the last person to leave. He's really an amazing, he's inspiring. I've learned a lot from him, actually. I think the thing about Levi is that even though he is a kid and he is enjoying his childhood and enjoying being on set and enjoying speaking to people and developing his character on set, but he's got a maturity about him that brings a certain level of quality to the role. And you don't find that often, especially in child actors, and he's done such a great job. It's been amazing.
Talking about great quality, obviously Joe Wright is a very accomplished director. What was it like working with him on this one?
Joe Wright was fantastic. Joe Wright, I've known Joe for a long time. It's my second film with him, although, you know, there have been projects that we were hoping to work on, didn't work out, blah, blah, blah. But I've worked with Joe quite a few times, and I've known him since 2003. So it was great to it was like working with an old friend on set, you know. And he's a great guy, he's a visionary, and he's fastidious with every single little piece of every buttonhole, every button, everything on every costume and every set. He's got a piece in all of it. So it truly was directed by Joe Wright. I think the difference about this one is it's almost like a prequel to an earlier Peter Pan, to an earlier point in Pan's life that we haven't seen before in any other movie. In most movies, we concentrate on Hook being the bad guy. In this movie, this is before Hook becomes the bad guy. Almost Hook's his friend. So I think no one's seen this side of the story before, so I think it's going to be really interesting. I mean, I love fantasy, and as a kid, I used to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a Gen Con kind of geek. So for me, it's a dream come true to do anything that's fantasy and make-believe, because it's something that I used to envelop myself in as a child. So I'm really thrilled to be part of it.
Of course, on the subject of Thrones, fans were somewhat devastated to see more of the key cast members killed off, particularly Kit Harington. How do you feel about that, someone who's been part of the show?
Well, I don't want to ruin it for everybody else that's seen it, but I don't know anything about what's going to happen next on Game of Thrones, and it is devastating to see that happen. But don't believe everything you see on Game of Thrones. If you don't see them actually stop breathing, then they may not be dead. Apart from this, I'm working on a new project which is starting filming in a few weeks' time. That will be released next year, and we're hoping to go in for a new season of Zoo in the new year as well.
That new project, is that a film, and can you tell us anything about it?
It's a film I can't really say. I haven't signed on the dotted line yet, but it's something that I'm excited about. Well, hopefully if we get season 2, we'll start beginning filming in January, and I've heard about where it's going to go, and it is really exciting. It's really exciting. It's going to go a lot more, it's going to go bigger scale, there's going to be a lot more animals, and it's going to get a lot more dangerous for the cast members, I think. But I think it's going to be very fun, and hopefully they'll love it. Well, got pretty close to a grizzly bear. That was something else. And the wolves weren't very pleasant either. But it was good fun. I really love the cast members. And CBS, did a really great job of putting it together. And Sky One has really pushed it on in the UK, and people are really loving it. I've got some great feedback. So we love it.
My final question, do you have a message to fans about this film and why they should be flying to cinemas to see it when they get the chance?
Listen, you're not going to see anything like Pan in your cinemas this autumn. So I think get out there, buy a ticket, and enjoy yourself.
So I am Bronson Webb, and I play Steps. Obviously, I'm an evil, sinister, long-haired, squeaky, annoying pirate.
What attracted you to that role?
It's just a bit like me, isn't it? No, I mean, just I'd played a pirate before, but this was Neverland. This was Pan. I'm a fan of Hook. This was everything I was as a child. You know what I mean? And everything I wanted to do. So yeah.
Of course, Hugh Jackman is the menacing Captain Blackbeard. What was it like working with him?
Oh, Hugh's like everyone says the same, and I think everyone probably thinks it's a lie. But he's just such a lovely guy. He's just so down to earth, so nice, so. He has time for everyone, and not only that, he gives 120% when he's filming, and that's just something to look up to.
And there's been lots of versions of the Peter Pan story. What do you think sets this one apart? What makes it special?
Oh, for a start, it's an origin story, so this is the beginning. This is before Hook has a hook, and this is before the whole world that we know it, So hopefully this is a whole new concept,
Levi, playing Peter, is carrying the film on his very young shoulders. What do you think makes him such a special talent, a star?
Just the fact he's like a little man in a small kid's body. I mean, he's a little man. He's fantastic. He's got so much energy. Everything's fresh for him. Everything's new. No, that's good. It's good.
Is there a particular part of the film that you either had most fun making or you're most excited to see on screen now?
All of it, really. I haven't seen any of it, so the whole film, yeah.
And what else are you working on? What's coming up for you?
At the moment, I'm just about to start a thing called Aliens for E4, which is a comedy. 6-part, Michael Sosha plays the lead. I'll be starting next week, so yeah, should be good.
Can you tell us anything more about that, what your character is like?
So, I play a gang member on the side, basically 40 years in the UK, and aliens have arrived. There's a Berlin-esque wall put up, humans one side, aliens the other, and basically the border control agent finds out he's half alien, half human, so he delves into both worlds, and it's a story and a comedy about that.
Who's your character?
I play Guy. I play a sinister alien again.
I can't tell you how excited I am. I mean, literally, it's the only reason I had children was so I could come to things like this. I've dragged my little girl and my husband along with me, and yeah, we are beyond excited.
Is Peter Pan a story that's captured your imagination?
I've always loved it. Both my daughter and I have read the book. We've watched every single movie adaptation there is of Peter Pan. So for both of us, yes, we often pretend that we're Wendy, and I think I'm always the dog when we do the make-believe stuff. But I've always loved it. It's just such a fabulous story. It's timeless, isn't it? I loved it when I was a little girl, and now my children love it as well.
Why do you think it is so timeless? Why do you think it seems to translate to each new generation?
I think it's just got so many elements. I think grown-ups enjoy it. I think it's about never wanting to grow up. And quite often I don't feel that I have. So I think it just relates to everybody. It's just such a beautiful story. And there's action, there's adventure. It's just, and that whole escaping of your parents as well, when Wendy and the boys go off to Neverland. And I just think it's just, like I say, it's just a timeless, beautiful, beautiful story.
And talking about beautiful things, this film stars Mr. Hugh Jackman. Are you a fan yourself?
Yeah, just a bit. And I'm honest to God not just saying this, he's my favourite actor. Like, I was thinking about flinging myself at him just a minute ago, and I can see him, he's just over the other side of this fountain. So I am thinking about breaking into a sprint and launching myself at him, but it might be I can literally see him. I've gone like a giggly schoolgirl. It's pathetic, but no, I love him. Absolutely love him.
Why does he have that effect on people? What's so special about Hugh?
Do you know, in an odd way, he's quite relatable. And I like the fact that he chooses different characters all the time. You know, I've just seen him in Chappie. We've just watched one of the X-Men movies. And it's like now he's playing a pirate. He's just so, I don't know, there's just something wonderful about him. He's up there. Favourite actor of all time, so I'm terribly excited. Just finished filming a reality show for ITV called Flock Stars, where I trained to be a shepherdess of all things. And at the moment I'm currently filming a new show of Selling Houses with Amanda Lamb, which will take me up until May of next year. A lot of properties.
How much fun was it working with those sheep?
They were brilliant. Much easier than trying to herd my children around, I can tell you that much. 80 sheep, 2 kids. Yeah, the sheep were much easier.
What was the toughest thing you had to do with your sheep?
Just try and get them in a pen, which doesn't sound that difficult, but when you're dealing with a dog and 6 sheep, it's much harder than it looks.
What have you taken away from that experience?
That I could actually do it. I think, you know, at the beginning, one of the reasons that I said I wanted to do it was because I wanted to prove to myself that I could. And at the beginning it was slightly disastrous, but after that it got much, much easier, and I absolutely loved every second.
I'm so excited. I mean, this is such a special thing for us, and our little boy's here too, so it couldn't get more magical, really. The concept of a boy that never gets old means that we're allowed as adults to kind of tap into our inner child as well. So there's something about it where even as a grown-up, it's not about a child, one can still relate. And so, you know, I'm watching it simultaneously as an adult, as a parent, but also as the child I remember being. And that's quite a special thing, really.
The film's boasting an amazing cast, particularly, I mean, Hugh Jackman, obviously. What makes him such a superstar, and what can fans expect, do you think, from him as Blackbeard?
Oh man, he's just a consummate performer. He's amazing. Like, he can do everything, and he does it brilliantly. And in this film, he gets to do something he's never done before. I mean, he's a really wicked, crackling character, and he's just, it's incredible.
Of course, I mean, young Levi, carrying a huge film on his young shoulders. What do you think makes him a star of the future?
Well, he's got it. I mean, there's a couple of scenes with him in the movie where I cry every time I see them, and I've been seeing them since they shot them. So he's just got that special thing. He's a beautiful, beautiful boy. Well, this aspect of the story has never been told before because it's a reimagining of the beginning. So that is a completely new thing. I mean, Hook and Peter Pan are friends at this point in the story, and that's not been explored before. And obviously with Joe's imagination and his way of bringing things to life, it's very unique. Well, this aspect of the story has never been told before because it's a reimagining of the beginning. So that is a completely new thing. I mean, Hook and Peter Pan are friends at this point in the story, and that's not been explored before. And obviously with Joe's imagination and his way of bringing things to life, it's very unique.
Garrett's playing the young, not yet Captain Hook. What can fans expect, particularly from his performance? Because it's great fun.
It's brilliant fun. I mean, it's just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's pretty unique, and it's really likeable, but also a little bit dangerous, and I think that's perfect for Hook. I mean, It's hard to pick. I mean, there's these kind of scenes within Neverland where it's just so grand and so kind of fantasy that it's amazing. But then there's really, what I love about Joe's films is he really brings that human element, even though it's a really big epic film. It's not just a big epic film. He really makes it about those stories. And so when he comes down to just two people talking, it's so moving and so real, and I love that. I just released an album a couple months ago called Home, and I'm recording a new one right now that's very kind of feminist and around the whole current migrant crisis. So yeah, busy.
Obviously, those are two very big issues, feminism and the migrant crisis. What do you feel you specifically have to say about both of those?
Well, I'm still working that out in my album, but I mean, those are, as you say, they're big topics, so I'm just trying to kind of talk about them in ways that relate to me personally so that it feels authentic, and that's hopefully going to make a difference to someone, you know.
Why should fans be flying to the cinema to watch this film when they get a chance?
Because it's really brilliant, and it's just like that cheesy thing of like it's for all ages, but that's a hard thing to do, and yet I find like I enjoy it as a grown-up, my kid enjoys it, our friends' older kids enjoy it, so it just seems to like appeal to everyone, and that means people can go together.
How much of an honour was it to play Peter Pan and with such an amazing cast?
It's incredible. It's a dream come true, honestly. It's amazing.
Are you ready for maybe a second film of Peter Pan?
So that'll be lots of fun.
Levi, can you tell us how this Peter Pan adventure compares to the familiar story and what it was like for you as a young actor working with people like Hugh and Garrett?
Well, there's a lot of connections to the Peter Pan, but it's an origin story, so it's good. It's something that hasn't been seen before. It's fun. Oh, it was amazing. They're all incredible.
We went over some monologues and material for what could potentially maybe be Hook down the line with, if fate and good fortunes on the side, and it turns into more films. And both of us were laughing hysterically and high-fiving, and we both realized that this film might be necessary for us. He's done films that have been dramatic. I've done films that have been dramatic, and we both realized how fun this could be and how therapeutic to finally be on a film where you're just laughing the whole time. We're gonna have a Hook sing "Don't Fence Me In" by Cole Porter, but that didn't pan out. But it would have been Smee dancing in the background like a Hawaiian hula girl show, or Leia girl. But yeah, it's wonderful, and to work with Joe on this, I've admired everything he's done. I think he's one of the greatest directors working today, and it's an honor. Everyone's got to have a dream, I guess. Everyone's got to yearn to never grow old once in a while, Peter Pan is so universal, and everybody's always loved it because of that reason, because it's a world where kids rule, and I think that's phenomenal. There's no rules, there's no parents, and they can fly, so yeah.